Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classic Known Classics. This is episode number 1807 and Doubleshot number 1702. Yep, it's actually 1808, Doubleshot 1800, 1702, Alright, this one's going to be quite unique. We're going to do two straight epic collections for Daredevil, like in case of the last one. This will be two in a row, like Volume 2 and Volume 3. First up, it is Daredevil Epic Collection, Volume 2, Mike Murdock Must Die. Yeah, let's just basically... Now, this book does contain issues 22 to 41, and number 1, Fantastic Four 73, and Not By E number 4. Now, let's talk about issues 22, 23, and 26, 27. This is basically two-parter, and then you take a break couple issues and come back with another couple issues. Yeah, this is simply the conclusion to the Mass Marauder story arc. In the first couple issues, he's with the Gladiators. This is basically a resumption of that was a storyline that started from issue 19. That was continued here. Teams with the Gladiator, take on Daredevil, and then after he wraps up that, he returns to issue 26, 27, team up with the Stealth Man, and then he retires. Yep, he retires. He does not appear again until the issue of Iron Man. Yeah. That's what happens to the guy. Yeah, he does not pop up again until he pops up issue of Iron Man of all places. Yeah, he pops up issue 8 of Iron Man. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Actually it was a flashback, but you could see his next physical appearance after this one was actually Iron Man number 60. Which, by the way, this came roughly 6 years after his previous appearance. Also, he apparently dies. Yeah. But I like the Masked Marauder. He's a good character. But here's the thing. Like, after his Iron Man appearances, the guy didn't really appear very much. Yeah. He appeared, after his two-part appears in Iron Man, he appears in 2 issues of Wolverine. Werewolf by Night. Then he pops up for 5 issues of Peter Parker's Attack on Spider-Man. And after the storyline wraps up, which is a very good story, by the way, he does appear again until, get this. Issue 28 came in 1979, December. He is returning until Punisher War Journal Volume 2 release in 2007, 28 years later. Yes, a very long absence. And of course, making a quick cameo in Secret Rage number 6. But that's it for the guy. Yeah, for a character to be his first appearance in 1966, he didn't make that many appearances. No, he didn't. Now, as for, you probably think, okay, what about issues 24 and 25? 24 is the debut of a character known as, it's 20. I don't think it's 24, is it? I just want to make sure I get this right here. Okay. 24 is a brief return of Kazar. Yes, making his first appearance in the book since issue 14. His also overall first appearance. Yeah, he's framed for a murder he didn't commit, and it turns out the murder was actually planned by his own brother, the Plunderer. Which goes there to find very easy after he broke out of prison from his last previous appearance. And then after this issue, Kazar would not appear again into issue 47 of Amazing Spider-Man. Yeah, seriously. That's where he would next appear in that book. Him and Zabu. Also, he's living in his mansion now. Yeah, after appearing in 2 issues of Amazing Spider-Man, he then later appeared in Marvel Superheroes 19. And then issue Incredible Hulk basically became sort of a spotlight character that kissed an appearance like all these books. Yeah, appearing first in X-Men, and he doesn't go back to X-Men to issue 62. Yes, after his previous appearance was back in issue 8. Yes, issue 8. That was the first appearance of Kazar, and it takes him a long time to return to the book. Yeah, 25 is noteworthy for debut of Leapfrog. And you're probably thinking, Nick, Who the heck is Leapfrog? Well, if you see this character pop up in pages of Iron Man recently, that's actually his son. This, of course, is the original. His name is Vincent. Yeah, he was a minor villain who appeared just in this issue here. He appeared sporadically over the years. Yeah, his issues were very sporadic. Like, after this first appearance, which he got defeated, by the way. Anybody thinking, did he come back, per se? Yes, he did. He popped up in the very next issue where he teamed up with a Marauder. And then, of course, he appeared in another villain group, which I think happened. Let's see. Is it? I know it's in here. Okay, yes. So, he pops up in anyone. I'll talk about it in a minute. But, yeah, these early issues in here are really good. Yeah, Daredevil doing crime stuff isn't unusual. That's him. That's the Leapfrog. Yeah, first appearance issue 25 of the series. Interesting number. Yeah, he pops up for the very next issue, and yeah, Stiltman. When he previously returned to the book, like, people were shocked the fact he came back after he had just come back after his appearance back in issue 12, after he shrunk himself and he came back. Yeah, as for how he came back, it's completely unknown exactly how this happened with him. But he was able to start back normal, and he's back here now. Oh, by the way, the coloring of his suit, originally here is blue. Currently it's silver. Yes. And by the way, this is the Masked Marauder in his real face. Yeah, this guy is the Masked Marauder. Yeah, and 27, like I said before, 27 is the end of the Masked Marauder saga, which, not, well, at this point anyways. And then in 28 comes a really weird issue. Oh, by the way, 25 is the debut of Mike Murdock, another identity of Matt Murdock. This lasts for a little while, and then it gets dropped. Yeah, I have no idea why the league came up with this alternate identity, basically as a goofball. And at one point, Matt Murdock claimed that Mike Murdock was in fact Daredevil. No, seriously. Yeah, and the whole point 28, yeah, let's have him fight aliens, even though it's not really aliens. It's just guys in costumes. It is one of the weirdest ones. And then he gets unmasked. Oh my gosh, he gets unmasked. I guess they figure, though, Spider-Man had something happen to him in his book, so I guess Lee probably thought, hey, what we do for Daredevil 2? Let's have him basically go through this stuff. Yeah, there's a guy named The Boss. He only appears just in this issue. It follows off of stuff with Masked Marauder. That's multiple issue 29 and 30 basically serve for. Just deal with the remnants of it. As issue 29 was. 30, and I believe 31 did this too. Yep, 30, 31. Basically, let me take a look here. Just be sure. 3. Yeah, it's basically like right after this one. Just basically the remnants. And in issue 30 32 is simply put Daredevil taking on Cobra and Hive for the first time. And because they originally were Thor villains, Lee thought, hey, let's have Thor make a guest appearance in this book. Which I believe this was the first time Daredevil met Thor. Yep, first time met him. Very good three-parter. Mr. Hyde himself would actually occasionally return to the book. Cobra himself would actually never return to the book. Well, not on a regular basis anyways. Yeah, at this three-party, he actually... I mean, his appearances were sporadic, mostly put basically Cobra, later named King Cobra, to avoid confusion with G.I. Joe's Cobra. He, like, after this party pops up at 61, and after that does appear again in the book, there's issues 42 and 43, 54, appear a few more times. Mostly he appeared at pages of Captain America a lot over the years, but yeah. Yeah. As Mr. Hyde himself, well, he will return afterwards. He appeared a lot in this book. Fun fact: Mr. Hyde is actually the father of a female superhero. Currently, yeah, he's the father. He's one of those very few. Let's just say he's one of the very few villains in Marvel Universe who actually has a child. Yep, and he, of course, basically at the same period of time, just devolved into Avengers and Captain America villain mostly. Of course, he would actually return to Daredevil even after the last time that he would still occasionally appear a little bit more in Daredevil than, of course, than Cobra would. Mm-hmm. Yep. By the way, what was his most recent appearance? Ben Reilly's Scarlet Spider number 4. Of Ben Reilly's Spider-Man number 4, that was his most recent appearance to date. Yeah. And then issue 33, we have him take on the Beetle. Yes, the Beetle. Who previously appeared in the issue of Avengers. Mm-hmm. Yeah. For some reason, the Beetle, had this thing. It was, of course, Ab Jenkins, by the way. He had this thing where he apparently was... It seems like, though, after he made his first appearance in Strange Tales 123, it's like he was dumped in Spider-Man. And it appeared in Fantastic Four, appeared occasionally in Avengers and Daredevil. And then he, of course, became a recurring villain over the years. Never been a specific villain per se, but he started out as a Human Torch villain. And currently the man is no longer alive because Jim Zebb killed him off at the end of his run for Thunderbolts before he came back recently. Yeah. Oh, by the way, in the issue where Thor guest stars, he shows up mainly because he wanted to pose as Thor in order to lure out Cobra and Hyde. Also, he briefly goes blind in this three-parter. Yeah, he briefly goes blind. Yep, yes he does. He briefly goes blind. It was also this period of time where Stan Lee basically wrote in the book where Foggy Nelson was running for DA, which he does. He does succeed in running, and of course, he also starts dating his child crush basically afterwards, Deborah Harris, who becomes later his wife. And here we go. We have Daredevil fighting his second ever group villains, the Emissaries of Evil. Yeah, it's simple. Electro basically assembling a lot of the villains who have fought Daredevil prior to this one. You pretty much have Electro basically assembling the Leapfrog, Gladiator, the Marauder, the Matador, and the Stiltman. Yes, these 5 people, and like in the case of Spider-Man, happens in the very first annual for the series, which at the time was referred to as a special. And you're probably thinking, why the heck would Daredevil have a special for? Because he did. Yeah, that's what it was referred to as. Referred to as a special. Yeah. All new, not a secret, not no more imprint, whatever. Mm-hmm. And here's the weird thing about this. After this annual, the next 3 annuals that came out for the series, annuals 2, 3, and 4, were all reprints. No, seriously. They were reprints. Yeah. A number 2 was a reprint of basically 2 different story issues of Daredevil. Yeah, it's a reprint of issue 10 and 11. A number 3, reprinting issues 16 and 17. And 4, the first number 4 before they made it actually, yeah, this was the actual guess. They actually had 2. The first 2 basically the third one the fourth one, yeah, became a regular thing. Now the Emissaries of Evil. First appearance of this is the Elektra version of the group, who appeared in this issue, and they made one other appearance. They also appeared in giant-sized Daredevil #1. Well, that was simply a reprint of them. Yes. But yeah, this version of Emerson Evil, sole appearance of the character. Yeah, and the way this issue is formatted, it is similar to that of the first annual Amazing Spider-Man. Yeah, it is very similar. Yeah, and I do mean so similar. Yeah, that's one thing Lee, if you read this book and Amazing Spider-Man, it's like he just copied stuff, ideas he had from Amazing Spider-Man this book. Like the first annual for Daredevil, where it's simply put sort of a minor retread of A #1 for Amazing Spider-Man. Yes. And yeah, I thought that was kind of weird, the fact he did that. Yeah. Yeah. But this version of the Emerson Evil only appeared this one time. Electro never had anything to do with this group ever again. Now you might be thinking, did Electro himself, did he ever return to the pages of Daredevil after this annual? You might ask. Nope. He went back to Spider-Man. I'm not really sure exactly why he even fought Daredevil in the first place. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Almost just as weird as when he took on the Punisher. No, seriously. He took on the freaking Punisher in an issue of Nathaniel Emerson's run for his book. Yeah. As for his Daredevil appearances, well, after appearing in 2 issues, he later returned for 2 more issues, 87 and 89, and I think that was it. And begs the question, why the heck would he take on Daredevil of all people? And by the way, his issue from Daredevil #2, that was just after his issue from Amazing Spider-Man. Yeah, then he appeared in the annual for that one, then appeared in #3, and they returned for Daredevil 12 and #1, and he would return again until 87, which came out in 1972, which, let's see. This annual was released in 1967, so he didn't return again for 5 years in the book. And he appears for 2 issues, and that is it. No, seriously, that is the last time he ever appeared in the book. Oh yeah, definitely. It's like he appears sporadically. His most raised appearance to date was actually in the opening issue of the Beyond story arc for Amazing Spider-Man. Yeah, it's one of the most baffling things, but I mean, the only thing this is a comment is like, oh, let's have basically one guy fight 5 guys at once. Excuse me, yeah. Now you're thinking, okay, is there any like actual new villains make a pop up here after the annual? Well, 33, like I said, takes in the Beetle for just for a single issue. Because it seems like, though, like, Beetle is like one guy who's fought practically everybody in the Marvel Universe. Yeah, it's one of the most bizarre ideas Marvel did with the character. Yeah. I think it was a 2-parter. Yeah, a 2-parter, and then, of course, then in issue 35, he fights the Trapster, another guy who first fought the Human Torch first. So basically 2 Human Torch villains. First the Beetle, now the frickin' Trapster, who makes his debut by busting open the law office window of Nelson Murdock. Yeah. He rubs him down, and he calls upon the Fantastic Four for help in this issue. Yeah, it's by far one of the most action-packed issues I've seen so far. Just really good. Even at one point, you had the Trapster posing as Daredevil. Now, apparently, they've met Daredevil at one point, and then, of course, it continues to issue 36. Yeah, it continues to issue 36 for Daredevil. And I believe it was just a 2-parter, which later led to a crossover. Yes, it later led to Doctor Doom taking on Daredevil for the first time. No, seriously. And a story that later continued in the pages of Fantastic Four 73, which you read this book like, damn, we're switching from Like, which we wrestled from Gene Colan to Jack Kirby. It's a bit jarring to say the least, but yeah, two really good artists. Sad that most of them are no longer alive. But this was like a quick like 3-parter that just happened to finish up in the pages of Fantastic Four, which then he moved back to Daredevil, and then he fights the Unholy Three and the character known as the Exterminator. He was recently known as the Deathstalker. Yeah, and the whole thing with him, it deals with Karen Page. Yeah. And I gotta say, basically, like, the stuff with Doctor Doom is quite interesting. We even have a body swap in the story where Doctor Doom is swapping bodies with Daredevil in order to break into the Baxter building. Yeah, and then, of course, him had to convince Fantastic Four, hey, that's actually not me, that's actually Doctor Doom. Yeah, by far one of the most hilarious things. But it's a really good multi-parter. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And after this 3-parter wraps up, then we take on the Unholy Three and the Exterminator, who basically is known as the Deathstalker later on. Yeah, he becomes a character who becomes someone involved with Karen Page. Of course, Matt becomes sort of more romantic involved with Karen. Mm-hmm. Yes. So yeah, I like the fact that Lee is basically slowly developing the romance between, uh, yeah, and the whole thing with the Unholy Trio. It's a storyline that lasts for a couple issues. Mm-hmm. Yeah, then we have the death of Mike Murdock. Oh, in case you're curious though, when does Lee himself finally leave this book? Because at this period of time, he was basically trying to leave various books. He doesn't leave the book to issue 50. Yeah. 50 was his last issue he came with the book. And then we also have Not Brian Enoch, which is a joke issue. Which, yeah, it's by far a comedy issue. Yeah. And that's what they end the book on. Yep. Very good issues. Mm-hmm. I give this book a 10 out of 10. Just really good. All right, moving on to move on to volume 2. Not volume 2, volume 3. Brother, Take My Hand. Which has him basically face off against the Stout Man. Yep. Yeah, like I said, 51 was Stan Lee's last issue he did for the book. And then, of course, basically, the only thing in this third volume is just 4263, and that's it. Yep, that's it. Now, 42 is the debut of one of Stan Lee's last known characters he created for Daredevil, the Jester. Yes, the Jester. By far, a character who was a lot more interesting when Marv Wolfman wrote him. This is Jonathan Powers. This is the original Jester. Yeah. Of course, there have been many other people who've taken the name the Jester over the years. But yeah, he's here for at least for 5 straight issues as a villain. Yep, 5 issues. We also have this guy in here known as the Disruptor, who's really Richard Raleigh, who appears for a small handful of issues, but also make a quick guest appearance in Daredevil of all things. Yeah, he was a guy who basically got killed because of experiment. Yeah. But that's the thing with the Jester, appearing for 5 straight issues of Daredevil, making him the first villain to appear with that many. We also have Captain America getting involved with the whole thing with the Jester. Mm-hmm. And we have basically, oh yeah, let's have basically Daredevil fight this guy for 5 straight issues. And then basically 46, you think that's the end of the Jester. Oh no. Like, he does return after this in issue 61, which was the, uh, at the time for a long time, last appearance for a while for Mr. Hyde and Cobra. Yep. But yeah, 5 straight issues basically fighting this guy. Yeah. He becomes a very important character in Marv Wolfman's run on the book. Yeah. Yeah. Daredevil's also accused of murder, and the Jester basically, you think, oh, he's like not a big villain. Oh, he's a villain who basically fights Daredevil for at least 4 out of 5 straight issues. Yep. And then right after basically 46, where he's finally defeated, after this 5-part story, which I think was at the time the first five straight issue story arc that we have for Daredevil. Yeah, first there were 5-parter. Mm-hmm. And then we have Brother Take My Hand. It's a standalone issue where Daredevil basically is entertaining for some troops. Yep, that's like, is there any like interesting villains make a debut in this issue? There's Becky Benson. Mm-hmm. He just briefly appeared, just for a few issues, and that's it. He appears for issue 47, 40, 49, and that's it for him. Yep. 49 is noteworthy for the debut of Star Saxton, aka Machine Smith, a character who's openly gay. Yep. I was thinking about blackmail and murder with him. Mm-hmm. 48 is another return of the Stilt Man. I gotta admit, the Stilt Man, despite being like hilarious, he's very interesting of a villain. And he sees like, oh, Karen's like, oh, Karen returned. Oh, let's take out the sunglasses. Yep. He just kisses her. He's like, okay, Romeo, talk about that later. Like, ooh, smooth skin. Yeah, no wonder why he thinks that Karen Page is hot. Yep. And then 49 basically fights Machine Smith. Well, Star Saxton. Fights his robot. Yeah, and the whole thing with Star Saxton becomes an actual story arc with him, which Lee himself would not finish. Nope, he wouldn't. And 50, we have Daredevil supposedly defeated. And this is right here, the final issue by Stan Lee. Mm-hmm. And then we begin the Roy Thomas era for Daredevil, which doesn't last as long as his Avengers run. Yep. This guy here, that's Star Saxton. Yep. And then 51, which is basically the death. Actually, that's actually Bernie. Star Saxton is somebody else. Mm-hmm. You had this issue here that kill off Bernie after he was sort of a minor villain for Daredevil. Yeah. Which then of course he comes to the initiative to take down Star Saxton by, well, having Matt Murdock fake his death. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then of course we have the return of Mr. Fear in these issues here, which I'll get to that. So basically, then we have 52. We have Daredevil teaming up with the Black Panther for the first time, which this issue here was actually printed an issue of Jungle Tales. No, seriously, it was. They basically printed this whole issue. Yeah. Great idea to include Black Panther in here. After all, he is a Stan Lee character. I'm sure Roy Thomas probably included him in here, probably because he's also already here in the pages of Avengers. Just wanted to make a quick guest appearance here. And at 53, just a retelling of his backstory, which basically just also co-written by Stan Lee, which you could consider this one Stan Lee's last, well, official issue he did for the book. Well, 50 definitely was his last regular issue. This is just a one-off. And they have stuff with Mr. Fear. Yeah, where... Yeah, Foggy Nelson is definitely the DA at this point, and he remained DA up until the 70s, until Blake Tower took over as DA. Yes, Blake Tower. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was DA for a long time. Yeah. Now you might be thinking, how long did he mean his DA for? He did it for a long time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But he still occasionally appears. Mostly appeared a lot in Daredevil and Spider-Man books. I mean, his most recent appearance was in the Eberbigger run for Captain America. Well, toward the end of the renumbering issues. Mm-hmm. Blake Tower, someone get to another time. Yep. So yeah, basically return of Star Sack this time. Well, he breaks out of jail and fights Mr. Fear again. Yeah, and here's the thing. He was only Mr. Fear just for this time, and he later became Machine Smith. Yeah, in age 55, yeah, basically, he reveals what he posed as. He becomes new Mr. Fear. He actually killed the original Mr. Fear. Yeah, he killed him and took his identity as Mr. Fear, which makes him probably the first character to get killed off in the pages of Daredevil, like, who is a known character, not just a one-shot character. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then we deal with Death's Hand. Yeah, this is actually a story arc that would kind of basically, the whole thing with this would actually end Karen Page's tenure in the book. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. It basically ended Karen Page's time as a love interest for Daredevil. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he appeared just for this quick two-parter. Yeah, and by the way, this Death's Head is actually Karen's father. Yep, it's his father. And then in issue 58, we have a debut of a character known as the Stuntmaster, who Mark Waid brought back for his run for Daredevil when Daredevil was operating out of San Francisco again. Interesting character, this guy. Like, he appears first as a villain, then he later pops up pages of Ghost Rider of all things. Yes, Ghost Rider. Yeah, he appears as Ghost Rider as a recurring character for a very brief period of time. He gets dropped, appears one more time in Daredevil, an issue of Ghost Rider, well, part of a crossover with the group. Then he returns for issue of Night Thrasher, 2 issues of Avengers, and then his last and most recent appearance was actually in the pages of Return to Daredevil for the Mark Waid issues back in 2015. And that was the last anybody saw the Stuntmaster. Yeah, he appears this issue 60, 64, 67, and they get through the Ghost Rider become a recurring character in that book. Yeah, it's kind of weird with the fact that he bringing this really interesting type of character, and he appears like one story. Yeah. And you have this guy called Crime Wave, who appears for this quick two-parter. Interesting idea, but it seems like that, well, the thing with this book at this period of time, let's have these bunch of mass villains appear for like a quick two-parter and that's it. Yeah, let's have the mysterious Crime Wave deal with Crime Wave, basically have identify his own cross of villains. Which some people might think that's a turn-off, but I find that quite interesting. The mystery of who this guy is, but next issue basically to solve who it is. Excuse me. And then right after that issue, in the very next issue, 61. By the way, in issue 57, after when Karen's father passed away, she finds out Matt Murdock is Daredevil, which makes her probably the first person to find out he's actually Daredevil. And here's the stuntmaster. This silly guy. And he explains, and of course, they still build the romance really well in here. Yeah, and Crime Wave was a guy who basically was someone who haunted, well, Foggy until he was captured after a quick two-parter. Yeah, it's interesting that he's around here for 2 issues, and that's it for him. Never return ever again. And then right after this multi-parter wrapped up, and then we have Daredevil in issue 61 take on Mr. Hyde, Cobra, and Jester, which this is also the last regular appearance of Karen Page, where she became a semi-recurring character for years. Yes, for a long time. Yes, they pretty much basically made her a recurring character at that point. Yeah, basically how to become an actress. They kind of followed this a couple issues later after this, but yeah, that's what they did with her. Is they had her basically get moved out of the book for a while. Yeah. But sort of a semi-recurring basis, appearing occasionally, maybe some issues here and there. But her last regular appearance was Daredevil 86. Yeah. Which for some reason they moved over the Ghost Rider of all places. Yes, of all places they moved the Ghost Rider. She was there briefly, and then turned to Daredevil in 227. She became a regular character again for a little while. Took a break, come back, regular character, break, come back. And then, of course, basically what happened with her in the Guardian Devil storyline, which I will get to that eventually. But yeah, after this issue, basically she leaves town, and of course Matt Murdock goes looking for her after issue 62, which has Nighthawk. Yes, Nighthawk. This, of course, is Kyle Richmond. Make a quick guest star appearance in the book for 1 issue. Yeah. And despite the fact Matt Murdock claimed he was going to give a superhero, nope, he didn't. Yeah, and what the heck is Nighthawk doing here? This is probably just after he wrapped up his time with of all people, Squadron Supreme. Though he did return the pages of Defenders after this one. Yeah, it's like he returns again 3 years later. No, seriously, it's like 3 years later he returns in pages of Defenders. Yeah. And that's also issue in the book, basically, because 63 is not in this trade. Nope, because they wrap up this issue here. Yeah, it's basically now questioning Daredevil. Oh, 63 isn't here. Excuse me, I thought it wasn't. Yeah, where he has one match with Gladiator. And Matt finds out what happened with Karen. And, yeah. Leaves her off in LA, and that's it. That's it for the book. Yep. But yeah, that's it. That's Daredevil Epic Collection, which, by the way, finished at the 60s, and now we're into the 70s, which is great. Yep. So with this particular book here, we're done with Stan Lee's run for the book. We're on the Roy Thomas's run, and we're also officially out of 1960s. I figured, though, why not to review this one, too, along with Volume 2 as well, just so I can basically get the book out of the 60s, which makes the very first book, basically, I've done a review for, where I've completely got out of the 60s. Well, the other book comes close to that is Amazing Spider-Man. Actually, it's the 3rd book that I've done that for now. Because I also did for, well, basically, Kenny X was the first one to do it for, that one. You ever think I haven't done it for Avengers yet? No, not yet. Not that I could think of, no. But I have done it for X-Men. Amazing Spider-Man's getting really close. I think Amazing Spider-Man's getting really close together of the 60s. But this is the second one, but it'd be like one more getting really close to Amazing Spider-Man. But yeah, when I return do more Daredevil stuff, it'll be for 70s and 90s stuff. Well, actually 80s. Okay? But I've been talking for 40 minutes. I need a break, basically, for talking. So, I was thinking of doing one more comic corner, but I figured, though, why not wait till I do One Piece? Yep. So that'll be my next video. Do that, and then do the second comic corner, which we're talking about 2 more trades for Fringe West Coast. I'll wrap up that series. So 2 trades, two reviews in a row, basically wrap something for a particular series. For this one, wrapping up the 60s for Daredevil, and in the case of Fringe West Coast, wrapping up the volume of the series. I'll talk more about that in the next video for this one. So next video will be One Piece. Okay, next video. Bye.